My sister didn't know my Alexa was recording when I went to the bathroom, and what I heard her planning with my ex. Hello, beautiful people. If you're enjoying our stories, please subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Now let's continue with today's story. I thought I had it all figured out. At 28, I was living in my dream apartment with my boyfriend Dominic of 3 years, planning our future together. My little sister Vicky had been staying with us for 2 months after losing her job, and I genuinely believed we were closer than ever. She'd always been the wild one, the party girl who couldn't hold down a relationship or a steady job, while I was the responsible one who held everything together. That Tuesday started like any other. Dominic had left early for his construction job, kissing my forehead and promising to pick up groceries on his way home. Vicky was still in her pajamas, scrolling through her phone on my couch, surrounded by the mess she never cleaned up. I'd learned to bite my tongue about it. Family comes first, Mom always said. I'm running to the bathroom real quick, then we need to talk about you finding your own place soon, I told her, trying to keep my voice gentle but firm. She just grunted without looking up from her screen. I'd set up my Alexa in the living room to play music while I cleaned, but I forgot it was still actively listening when I stepped away. Technology had always been my weak spot. Dominic usually handled all the smart home stuff. As I closed the bathroom door, I had no idea my entire world was about to crumble from a simple oversight. The strangest thing about betrayal is how it starts with silence. One moment you're living your normal life and the next you're hearing voices that make your blood freeze in your veins. He's definitely going to propose soon. I heard Vicky's voice drift from the living room, clearer than it should have been. At first, I smiled. Maybe she was happy for me talking to one of her friends about Dominic and me. But then I heard the second voice and my heart stopped. Good, that makes this even easier, Dominic said, his voice carrying that low, intimate tone I thought he reserved only for me. Once she says yes and we're engaged, I can really start moving her money around. She trusts me completely with the finances now. My legs gave out and I sank onto the bathroom floor, pressing my ear against the door. This couldn't be real. Dominic was at work. He left hours ago. But that was definitely his voice, clear as day through my Alexa's speakers. You sure she won't notice? Vicky giggled. Actually giggled, like they were discussing weekend plans instead of destroying my life. Girl's been suspicious about money lately. She asked me why her savings account looked different. That's why we need to move faster, Dominic replied. I've already transferred $40,000 to the joint account. Once we're married, everything becomes community property anyway. And with her credit score, we can take out loans she'll never even know about until it's too late. The bathroom walls felt like they were closing in. $40,000. That was my inheritance from Grandma Elaine, money I'd been saving for our wedding, for our future home. Money that was supposed to build our life together. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I could only listen as my world disintegrated one word at a time. What about after? Vicky's voice carried a cruel edge I'd never heard before. You can't stay married to her forever. She's going to figure out eventually that you're not the man she thinks you are. Dominic laughed, cold and calculating. Baby, by then it won't matter. I'll have cleaned out everything worth taking. The apartment lease is in both our names, so I can stick her with that debt. Her credit cards are maxed out from that emergency I had last month. You know, when I told her my mom needed surgery? My stomach lurched. His mother had been perfectly healthy when I met her last week. I'd sent flowers and a get-well card to a woman who was probably laughing at my stupidity. You're so bad, Vicky purred, and I could hear the sound of movement, fabric rustling. Were they? I can't believe she doesn't see what's right in front of her face. Girl's been blind since day one. She sees what she wants to see, Dominic said dismissively. Some people are just born to be used. She's been taking care of everyone her whole life. Her mama, you know me. She doesn't know how to stop being the caretaker long enough to realize she's being played. Each word felt like a physical blow. 3 years of my life. 3 years of loving him, supporting his dreams, believing in our future. I thought about all the times I'd defended him to my friends when they said he seemed too good to be true. All the red flags I'd ignored because I was so desperate to believe someone could love me the way he pretended to. The worst part wasn't even the money. It was realizing that every "I love you," every tender moment, every promise about our future had been a lie designed to manipulate me. Your sister really has no clue, does she? Dominic continued, and I could hear him moving around my living room like he owned it. She actually thinks you're here because you lost your job. Vicky's laughter was like broken glass. Please. I quit that job 2 months ago when you told me your plan. Why would I work when I knew we'd be living off her money soon enough? She's been paying for everything while I've been saving every penny you give me. The floor beneath me felt like it was dissolving. My own sister. The person I'd shared a room with growing up, whose homework I'd helped with, whose tears I'd dried when boys broke her heart. The person I'd opened my home to without question because family was supposed to mean something. She transferred money into my account just yesterday, Vicky continued. 504 job interview clothes. I bought this cute little dress to wear when we celebrate draining her accounts completely. I remembered that conversation. Vicky had seemed so hopeful, so motivated to get back on her feet. I'd been proud of her for finally taking responsibility for her life. Instead, she'd been planning to destroy mine. How long have you two been? I couldn't even finish the thought, but Dominic answered anyway. Since the second week she moved in, he said casually. Your sister's got skills you never learned, if you know what I mean. And she actually appreciates what I do for her, unlike some people who just take everything for granted. My mind raced back through the past 2 months. All the times Dominic had worked late. All the times Vicky had been out when I came home. All the secret smiles and inside jokes I'd thought were just them getting along as family. The betrayal wasn't just financial. It was intimate, personal, soul-crushing. When are you going to dump her? Vicky asked, and I could hear her moving closer to him. I'm getting tired of pretending to be grateful for her help. Do you know how hard it is to act like I care about her feelings when she talks about your future wedding? Soon, Dominic promised. I just need to get her to co-sign on one more loan. There's this business opportunity, completely fake of course, but if she believes in it enough to put her name on the papers, we can pull another $60,000 easy. $60,000. Combined with what they'd already stolen, that would wipe out everything I'd worked for my entire adult life. Every double shift I'd pulled as a nurse, every weekend I'd given up to save money, every sacrifice I'd made for what I thought was our shared future. What if she gets suspicious? Vicky worried. She's been asking more questions lately about where her money's going. Then we speed up the timeline, Dominic said coldly. I've got contacts who can help us disappear if we need to. New city, new identities. She'll never find us, and by the time she realizes what happened, we'll be long gone with everything she's worth. That's when I knew this wasn't just about money anymore. This was about completely destroying my life, leaving me with nothing but debt and heartbreak while they started fresh somewhere else with my life's work funding their escape. I pressed my back against the bathroom door and made a decision that would change everything. They thought I was naive, trusting, born to be used. They thought wrong. My Alexa had recorded every word, and I was going to make sure the world heard exactly who Dominic and Vicky really were. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone, opening the Alexa app with fingers that barely cooperated. Thank God for cloud storage. Every conversation was automatically saved. I had proof of everything. The theft, the fraud, the affair, the plans to destroy my credit and disappear with my money. But as I scrolled through the recordings, I realized this conversation was still happening. They were still in my living room, still planning my downfall, completely unaware that their victim was documenting every word. She keeps talking about wanting kids, Vicky said with disgust. Can you imagine? She actually thinks you want to be a father with her. Dominic's response made my skin crawl. I told her what she needed to hear. Women like her, they've got this biological clock thing. Promise them a baby and they'll sign anything, believe anything. She's been taking those prenatal vitamins for months, thinking we're trying. The prenatal vitamins. He'd suggested them, said he wanted to make sure I was healthy for when we started our family. I'd been so touched by his thoughtfulness, his eagerness to be a father. Instead, he'd been using my deepest desires as weapons against me. You're terrible, Vicky laughed. But that's why I love you. You see opportunities where other people see relationships. I screenshotted everything, saved the audio files to multiple cloud accounts, and started a voice memo on my phone to record my own thoughts and the current situation. If they tried to gaslight me later, if they tried to claim this never happened, I'd have evidence they couldn't deny. My reflection in the bathroom mirror showed a stranger, hollow-eyed, pale, but something new flickering beneath the surface. Not just hurt. Not just betrayal. Something harder, stronger, more dangerous than they'd ever bargained for. We should probably wrap this up, Dominic said. She's been in there a while and you know how she gets when things seem off. Girls got intuition like a damn detective sometimes. If only they knew how right they were. But my intuition hadn't kicked in nearly soon enough. I'd been so blinded by love and family loyalty that I'd missed all the signs, all the red flags that should have been obvious. One more thing, Vicky said, and her voice dropped to a whisper. What about her friends? Some of them don't like you much. What if they try to warn her? Already handled, Dominic replied confidently. I've been slowly isolating her for months. Remember when I told her that Carolyn was talking behind her back about our relationship? Or when I said Monica was jealous of what we had? She doesn't talk to half her friends anymore because she thinks they're toxic. The manipulation ran so much deeper than I'd realized. My social circle had shrunk dramatically over the past year, and I'd thought it was natural, adult relationships evolving. Instead, Dominic had systematically cut me off from the people who might have seen through his act and warned me. You're a genius, Vicky said admiringly. She's completely dependent on us now. No wonder she can't see what's happening. But they were wrong about one thing. I wasn't completely alone. My coworker Denise had been trying to reach out for weeks, inviting me to lunch, asking if I was okay. At the time, I'd been too busy taking care of Dominic and Vicky to pay attention. Now I realized Denise might have been trying to tell me something important. I opened my contacts and started typing a message. Emergency. Need to talk ASAP. Can you meet me after work today? The plan was forming in my mind piece by piece and it was going to require help. Denise's response came within minutes. Girl, I've been waiting months for you to reach out. Something's been off about your situation for a while now. I'm here for whatever you need. Relief flooded through me. I wasn't as isolated as they thought. But I needed to be smart about this. If Dominic and Vicky suspected I knew anything, they might disappear with my money before I could stop them. She's coming out, Vicky whispered suddenly, and I heard frantic movement in the living room. Act normal. I flushed the toilet and ran the water, giving them time to compose themselves before I emerged. When I opened the bathroom door, they were sitting on opposite ends of my couch, both staring at their phones with expressions of forced casualness. Everything okay? I asked, studying their faces. Now that I knew what to look for, the guilt was written all over them. Vicky couldn't meet my eyes and Dominic's smile looked more like a grimace. Of course, baby, Dominic said, standing to kiss my cheek. Vicky and I were just talking about her job search. The lies rolled off his tongue so easily. I wondered how many other conversations had been fabricated, how many times I'd been manipulated without even realizing it. That's great, I replied, forcing enthusiasm into my voice. Any promising leads? Vicky finally looked up and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Was it fear? A few, she mumbled. Nothing concrete yet. I nodded sympathetically, playing the role of supportive sister while my mind raced with plans for justice. Well, don't worry. You know I'm here for whatever you need. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. I was offering help to the person actively plotting my destruction and we all knew it. Over the next few days I became a different person. Outwardly, nothing changed. I still made breakfast for Dominic, still listened to Vicky's fake job search updates, still played the role of devoted girlfriend and caring sister. But underneath I was building a case against them that would destroy their plans completely. I met Denise for lunch on Thursday, bringing printed copies of all the evidence I'd gathered. Her reaction confirmed what I already knew. This wasn't just betrayal, it was criminal fraud. Honey, this is identity theft, bank fraud, and conspiracy, Denise said, studying the documents with her paralegal training. You need to call the police and your bank immediately. Not yet, I told her. I want to catch them in the act. They're planning something bigger. A business loan that would put me in debt for years. If I can get them on tape trying to execute that fraud, the charges will be more serious. Denise looked worried. This is dangerous. What if they figure out you know? They won't, I said with more confidence than I felt. They think I'm too stupid and trusting to ever suspect them. That assumption is going to be their downfall. I'd already called my bank and placed fraud alerts on all my accounts without closing them. I'd contacted a lawyer Denise recommended and started documenting every suspicious transaction from the past year. Most importantly, I'd started recording every conversation with Dominic and Vicky on my phone. The evidence was mounting, but I needed one final, undeniable piece of proof that would guarantee they'd face serious consequences for what they'd done to me. The opportunity came that Saturday when Dominic brought up the business investment he'd mentioned to Vicky. We were having breakfast and he was being unusually affectionate, which I now recognized as his manipulation tactic. "Baby, I've got an incredible opportunity," he said, taking my hands across the table. "My friend Ethan is starting a food truck business and he needs investors. If we put in $70,000 now, we could double our money in 6 months. $70,000. Exactly the amount I had left in my savings after their previous thefts. They'd calculated this down to the penny. "That's a lot of money," I said carefully. "Can I think about it?" Dominic's grip tightened almost imperceptibly. "Of course, but Ethan needs an answer by Monday. These kinds of opportunities don't wait around, you know?" I nodded, pretending to consider it while my phone recorded every word from my pocket. Could I meet Ethan first? I'd feel more comfortable hearing about the business plan directly from him. Something flickered in Dominic's eyes. Panic maybe, or anger. "He's really busy getting everything set up. But I could bring you the paperwork today if you want to look it over." Of course he could. Because there was no Ethan, no food truck business, just more elaborate lies designed to steal the last of my money before they disappeared forever. "That would be great," I said with a smile. "I trust your judgment completely." Vicky, who'd been quiet during this exchange, suddenly spoke up. "Are you sure about this, sis? That's a lot of money to risk." The fake concern in her voice made my stomach turn. She was probably worried I might actually investigate the investment and discover it was fraudulent before they could steal the money. Sunday evening, I gathered everyone in my living room under the pretense of making a decision about the investment. Dominic had brought forged documents that looked official enough to fool someone who wasn't looking for deception. Vicky sat beside him, playing the role of concerned sister while secretly celebrating their impending score. "I've decided to invest," I announced, watching their faces light up with greed and satisfaction. "But first, I have something I want to share with both of you." I pulled out my phone and opened the Alexa app, scrolling to Tuesday's recording. "I thought you might want to hear this." The first words of their conversation filled the room, and I watched the blood drain from their faces as they realized what had happened. Dominic lunged for my phone, but I'd already backed everything up to the cloud and sent copies to my lawyer. "Surprise," I said quietly. "I know about everything. The stolen money, the fake emergencies, the affair, the plans to destroy my credit and disappear. All of it." Vicky started crying, not tears of remorse but panic at being caught. "It's not what it sounds like," she stammered. "We can explain everything." "Really?" I asked, my voice staying deadly calm. "Can you explain why $40,000 of my inheritance is missing from my savings account? Can you explain why you've been having sex with my boyfriend in my apartment while I paid your bills? Can you explain why you were planning to steal another $70,000 and ruin my life?" Dominic tried a different approach, switching to the charm that had fooled me for 3 years. "Baby, listen, I know this looks bad, but..." "Stop," I cut him off. "Just stop lying. I have recordings of everything. I have bank records. I have evidence of fraud that will send both of you to prison. The only question now is whether you're going to make this harder on yourselves by continuing to lie." The room fell silent except for Vicky's sobbing. Dominic's mask finally slipped completely, revealing the cold, calculating person he'd always been underneath. "You think you're so smart," Dominic snarled, his true nature finally showing. "But you're still the same pathetic, desperate woman who was so grateful for attention that you never questioned anything. You'll never find anyone else who'll put up with your neediness." His words were designed to hurt, to make me doubt myself even in victory. But they had the opposite effect. They reminded me exactly why I was doing this. "You're right about one thing," I said. "I was desperate for love, so desperate that I ignored every red flag, every instinct that told me something was wrong. But that desperation is gone now. You killed it." The police arrived 20 minutes later. I'd called them before starting the conversation. As they handcuffed Dominic and Vicky, reading them their rights for fraud, theft, and conspiracy, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Vicky looked at me with genuine tears for the first time. "How could you do this to family?" she asked. "Family doesn't steal from family," I replied. "Family doesn't conspire to destroy the people who love them. What you did to me wasn't family, it was predation." Dominic was silent as they led him away, but the look he gave me promised he'd try to hurt me again if he ever got the chance. It didn't matter. I had a restraining order being processed, and with the evidence against them, they'd be spending the next few years in prison instead of spending my money. My neighbor Mrs. Hancock, who'd witnessed everything from her doorway, came over after the police left. "Honey, I'm so sorry this happened to you," she said gently. "But I'm proud of how you handled it." That took real strength. For the first time in days I cried, not from sadness or betrayal, but from relief that the nightmare was finally over. 6 months later, I'm sitting in a new apartment across town, one that Dominic has never seen and Vicky doesn't know exists. The legal proceedings are ongoing, but my lawyer is confident we'll recover most of the stolen money and that both of them will face serious jail time. Therapy has helped me understand how the manipulation worked, how my own kindness and desire to help others was weaponized against me. I've learned to trust my instincts again, to set boundaries, to recognize red flags before they multiply into forest fires. But the real cost wasn't financial, it was emotional. I lost my sister not to death or distance but to her own greed and cruelty. I lost 3 years of my life to a man who saw me as nothing more than a bank account with benefits. Most painfully, I lost my ability to trust easily, to love without question, to believe the best in people. Some days, I miss the person I used to be. The woman who opened her home without hesitation, who believed family meant something sacred, who thought love conquered all obstacles. She was naive, maybe even foolish, but she was also hopeful in a way I may never be again. Today I got a letter from Vicky. She's awaiting trial and wants to reconcile, claims she was manipulated by Dominic too, says family should forgive each other. The letter is full of the same manipulation tactics she and Dominic used before, just with different words. I read it once, then fed it through the shredder. Some betrayals cut too deep for forgiveness, and some family bonds, once broken, can never be repaired. The sister I loved died the day I heard her laughing about destroying my life. The woman in prison is a stranger wearing her face. I keep the Alexa recording as a reminder, not of their betrayal but of my own strength in the darkest moment of my life. I survived. I fought back. I won. And maybe someday that will be enough.